Okay guys, welcome back down to Carbon Car Systems. Today we're going to be reviewing these. These are the new Pioneer units in Australia, the AVH-Z series. So these, there is 5 units in the series. So these are all the new smartphone compatible units with Apple CarPlay. Every single one of them has Apple CarPlay and some of them have Android Auto. So these units are really good. We're going to go through the hardware differences firstly, and then we're going to show you the software in our board, but let's go through some of the differences between the models and show you this as well, the new single DIN unit, which is a flip out screen, which is the first to the market with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is really handy for some of those guys that only have that small slot in the dash, some of the older Civics, some of the older model vehicles. So we're only going to show you these 3 because there's 2 models that are very similar to these, the exact same in fact, but the 2 models, the only differences is they have DAB plus digital radio. So they all have AM, FM, but DAB plus digital radio. So there's 2 models above these. With those changes, they do make them more expensive, about $130 more expensive for those 2 models, but the difference is 6.1 inch screen, 7 inch screen. So these models will be the exact same plus DAB. So let's quickly go through these units and see where they sit in the market and what some of the differences are. Now we're going to be selling these in our store because they have a place in the market. They're much more affordable than any other unit that actually has come onto the market. We're massive fans of Kenwood in our store. We've been, if you look at our YouTube channel and seen any of our videos, you will see that we really love those. But these we're going to be selling as well because they really do have a place. They come in a little bit more affordable, but they do sacrifice some of the features. So, but you know, that suits some people. Some people don't want some of the Kenwood features. So let's have a look. So first up, we have the AVH-Z5050BT, which is their new entry-level CarPlay unit. Now this is a smaller type screen, it's a 6.1 inch, okay? Now this unit here does not have Android Auto, it has Apple CarPlay only, okay? So for those Apple fans that really want something affordable, this is it. These are retail $650, okay? So really affordable value for that guy. You probably pick it up a fraction cheaper in stores, but these have only just come out, so probably $650 is where they're gonna be at in the market. So in the box, first to note is you don't get a mounting cradle. So on some of the more expensive units, you get a sleeve that can mount on some of the cars. You don't get that. You will have to buy that separately if your car is a cradle mount. A lot of vehicles aren't anymore, they're bracket mount. So just notice that straight off the bat. One of the things we did notice is you only get 1 USB port out the back. It is a 1 amp charging USB, so it is a fast charge. It will work for Apple and Android phone. So you don't get me wrong, you can still use your Android phone and pair via Bluetooth on this unit, but you just don't get Android Auto, which is your navigation and app stuff that you can control on the screen. In saying that, it does have the Pioneer app radio, which is you need some extra cables and parts to do that, but it'll give you a few different music apps that Pioneer specifically release themselves, a couple of navigation things as well. But really this is going to be an entry-level CarPlay unit. It still has CD, DVD. It will run 2 phones simultaneously, so it'll run Bluetooth on 2 different phones at the one time. So you can pair more than that, but that's a cool new feature that they've released this year. It's called dual Bluetooth. One of the things that we did notice, so here we'll show you the back actually, we got Rca Output, so it does have 3 high voltage Rca outputs, so expandability is same as their top end units. You can do front, rear, subs and run amps. It has reverse camera inputs, video outputs, so you can run rear screens. This here, as you can see on the back, you're gonna get a few different things. So you got your single USB, you have your auxiliary input, your power cables, and then you've got your microphone input and your steering wheel interface, okay? Now, a notable difference between this and some of the Kenwood units that we advertise or talk about on our YouTube channel is this does not have steering wheel controls built into the unit. So if you do want to use steering wheel controls off your car, you will have to buy an adapter separately. They can be anywhere from about $100 to $150 Australian, so that is not included. So that's one of the benefits and one of the reasons it's cheaper. Now, when I was looking through the specs on these units, another big notable difference is these have a clear resistive touchscreen, okay? Not capacitive touch. Now the difference there is resistive works off pressure on your finger, so it can make the scrolling feel a little bit not so smooth. Whereas capacitive touch, like on some of the Kenwood units, like the DDX series, that is more like your smartphone or your iPad or your tablets, okay? They use the current from your finger and they scroll and move really seamlessly. So that's one of the reasons these units are a little bit cheaper, okay? So they only have 1 USB, resistive touchscreen, You lose steering wheel controls, you don't get DAB radio on this unit, but like I said, there is a model above it called the 3000, the AVH-Z3000, $130 more with the DAB Plus radio. It's still got external mic included. You do get the screws, a little trim plate for helping do the mounting if you need that, and a remote control. Now, so overall, pretty good looking unit, and I would say it would operate very cool when we show you in the board. We'll show that shortly. Next model up is the 50BT. Now, the only differences between these two models is this one here is a 7-inch screen, larger screen, so the buttons will be down the side and it'll be motorized flip down with the CD, DVD behind it. It is still resistive touchscreen, okay? It's still not a capacitive touchscreen. One of the big notable differences from this unit, it does have Android Auto, okay? So for all you guys that want to run Android Auto to get the Google Maps running, so you just plug your phone in, operate on the screen. If you want to see that, we've got YouTube videos on how the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto works. So check out Carbon Car Systems on our YouTube and you can see that. So that is a big difference, Android Auto. This is going to retail for $850, okay? So you're paying $200 more, get that larger screen and that Android Auto, okay? So well worth the value there. But that makes it, with a CD DVD, one of the cheapest units on the market with both features. And Pioneer are generally really quick on their graphical interface. So we'll show you that shortly. Next model up, this one here, okay? This is the 7050BT. Now, really cool. This is a flip out screen with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, this is the first one to the market, and you don't actually see a lot of single DINs anymore because a lot of cars can take the double DIN size, which is the larger size, but there is a lot of vehicles that can't. So this is a really good place in the market, but being that they don't do as much volume on these things, they are a little bit more expensive. It comes in about $1,000 retail. So again, same parts in the box. They're especially, it does actually come with these special thin screws, okay, for mounting, because when you do mounting on the sides of the unit here, because it actually does come with the cradle, you can't go too far in because the screen is actually motorizing in there. So they come with the special short screws, which is a good thing to note. On the back, it gives you all these tails on all the same inputs. So it still has 3 RCA outs, it still has a video in and out. Notably, these units do not have HDMI inputs, okay? It's not really required much anymore. They do have this yellow port, which is for all their app radio functions for all these Pioneer units. There is plugs sold separately because different phones need different plugs, but you can get them. Again, steering wheel control is not built in, but this will be cool for some of those guys that only have the single DIN units in their vehicle that still want to run Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. So all in all, good units. So 650 retail, 850, $1,000. We have them available online and in store. We're going to throw them in our showroom for anyone that wants to come down to our Sydney store and check them out and try them. But let's go see the interface and see how they work. Okay guys, so these are the 3 units in the board now. So we've loaded this one up. We've had a quick play with these ones down the bottom, but we thought we'd show you the load screen on this. So when you first plug them in, this is the first screen you're going to get. What you can see, limited language compatibility. So it's only going to be English, Spanish and Portuguese available on these units, whereas some of the higher range units have multi-language, a lot more than that, okay? So we're going to set our locations here and go through. Speaker mode, standard speaker mode. Yep, so we've got standard speakers in the car, we're good. And this is the main platform that we have on the unit. Now, first up, when you're touching the screen, it does feel resistive because it is a resistive screen. So it is pressure touch, so it's not so smooth for the touch. And you can see here, you can actually drag and drop some of these icons if you want to switch them around, but it does look a little bit slow and feel a tiny bit slow, but I guess that's expected from something that's a little bit cheaper. They probably used a slower processor to run this cut down version of the firmware. So as you can see here, it's got iPod, AV inputs, reverse cameras, Spotify, Pandora, normal AM, FM radio, CD, DVD. On this unit, this is the flip down unit, so you can push eject and you can change the angle of the screen, and the CD, DVDs do go in behind. So quite a good unit. One thing we did notice when you're running these USB, single USB, previous models of the Pioneer, you had to select if you were using Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Now it auto detects, so straight plug in through the one USB, whether you're using Android or Apple CarPlay, it will actually detect. So I've got an Android phone here, I'll show you. For Android phones, you must download the app first onto your phone. which is the Android Auto, but for Apple it's automatically on there. So let me unlock this. How do you unlock this, Dave? We'll just unlock our phone quickly for you. So there you go. What's it doing? Quickly plug it in and out. Maybe we should have unlocked that first. There we go. This is just the first setup. It just tells you to accept it on the screen, and that's the Android Auto. So it will run you through and tell you how to use it, but you can actually use Google Maps, everything on the screen here. You got your phone calls, so very easy to use, very intuitive actually. So, but that's the Android Auto, okay, very easy. If you plugged in the Apple, it would run straight away as well. Now, one of the cool things we did notice on these units in the sound settings, it actually does have time alignment, which is really cool because you can set your left speaker up and your right speaker up to hit your ears at the same time, even though there are different distances away from you, so that is really cool. This does play video format off your USB, which is Windows Media Files, MP4 formats, everything like that. So you can load not only DVDs and CDs into this, but you can play video off your USB. It's actually quite easy to use. So I think the unit was, relatively rated, but a little bit slower. So, you do get what you pay for. Like some of the Kenwood units are about $1,000, so they're a couple $100 more, $150, $250 more, but you do get the better touchscreen, DAB plus radio, wireless interfacing, a few things like that, dual USB, capacitive touchscreen. So, a couple of little extras. Built-in steering wheel control is a big one because those adapters, a couple $100. So the Kenwood, you pay a little bit more, but you add those extra features to this and, it's good value for money. But again, for $850, you can't really go wrong. Again, this one's $650. This one does not have the Android Auto, okay? So just be aware, the 6.1 inch screen, that version doesn't have it. It is cheaper for a reason, okay? But again, now we'll show you this flip out. So there was a couple little things on the flip out. You do have a angle button here that you can press and hold, and you can actually change the angle of the screen. So you can see here, the screen is actually changing angle, and you can bring it in and out. So that was one of the main features of this flip out screen. Again, dual phone function on all of these units, so you can run two phones at once, so it's handy for those guys with a work phone and a personal phone, and you can run them both at once. This was very cool on the Singleton unit, is on standard like the old school volume dials, which is it's a nice touch and a nice feel. It's something that a lot of people miss, like on these other units they just have buttons these days, but I really like that. You can just tap this button to bring it in and out for the mechanism. So when we first loaded it up, it is set up to automatically come out whenever you turn the vehicle on, but in the actual settings you can change that for the flip out screen. Touch screen calibration, it's not in this section, but it is in another section. You don't have to have it automatically come out. This interface is really cut down. They have a lot less features on it, but you still have the illumination. You can set the screen to be any color. You can change the backgrounds. You can load up images off USB to load onto there as well. So that was really, really cool. But all in all, the units are good. I mean, value for money wise, I think they're a win. The Apple CarPlay plug-in straight away, just use it, very Apple-ish. So much affordable than anything else on the market, and from a good quality unit, okay? I think Sony has some other units on the market, JVC, but they're a lot clunkier, a lot slower. So price point wise, value for money, I would definitely rate these as a good unit. If you want something a little bit more like your smartphone, where you want it real fast, really smooth, interface wise, go for some of the Kenwood DDX 9 series, but all in all, you can come down and try them in our Sydney store, Carbon Car Systems, and check them out for yourself and see what you prefer. Yeah, guys, one more little thing I forgot to mention. A cool addition that Pioneer did was add this voice function, okay? So you can actually, it's a little button on every one of the units you can tap to do your talk to it, to give it instructions, okay? That's very important for a lot of the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, because it does use Siri, Cortana, and all the hands-free stuff. So they did add a quick little button to allow you to do that, which was really, really cool. And it's on the Singleton as well. But that was a nice little touch. And they did have smartphone shortcut buttons. So when you're plugged in and you're on the Pioneer interface using your music, your audio, etc., you can touch this button on the left, and it was a quick switch to the smartphone interfaces. The app features, okay? So that was two cool little things they did on the hardware I forgot to mention, so pretty cool.